I would like to welcome everybody to this very special meeting. It's the first meeting of the new year, 2017, of the new Portsmouth City Council. This is an organizational meeting. We have an agenda, and we will hear from speakers later in the agenda. We welcome your presence. It's so good to see you here. And we wish you, on behalf of council, a very happy and prosperous new year. I will ask the city council to stand for the invocation, and I will give the invocation. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for keeping us safe during the night and give us yet another day to advance your kingdom. We thank you for this new year. We thank you for the citizens of Portsmouth in a special way. We ask your blessings upon this meeting. We ask your blessings upon the city of Portsmouth so that we may be a blessing to others. This we ask in your Son's name for me. Amen. Amen. If you'll join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ladies and gentlemen of the council, we'll have an electronic roll call. And if you'll indicate your presence by hitting the green button that says yes. And Madam Clerk, I think we have all present.
Yes, sir.
That's a good way to start. The first item of business is item 1706, which is the election of the vice mayor. We will take nominations from the floor under Robert's Rules of Order. Nominations do not require a second, and I have an indication that Councilwoman Simmons would like to speak.
Thank you. Mayor Rowe, members of council, and to the citizens of Portsmouth. It has been my honor to serve as your vice mayor for the last 2 years. I've thoroughly enjoyed the one meeting that I got to chair and the many ribbon cuttings, groundbreakings, and proclamations that I offered throughout the city to different groups. Over the last few months, the majority of us here on the dais have campaigned telling you just how great we are individually and to vote for us. However, the time has now come for us to work together as a team for the betterment of our city. We may not always agree, but I pledge to you to be agreeable. This is also a time I realize and remember that I don't represent just the 18,113 people who voted for me. We all represent the 98,000 citizens of our historic city, young and old, black and white, rich and poor, Republicans, Democrats, and independents. It is in that regard that I nominate Councilman Paige Cherry to be our vice mayor. Although we have clashed on some policies over the years, we will never clash on our mutual desire to make Portsmouth the heartbeat of Hampton Roads. Mr. Mayor, I urge you and my colleagues to join me in validating my motion to accept Paige Cherry as Vice Mayor of the City of Portsmouth.
Thank you, ma'am. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, I declare the nominations closed. We will now vote on the election of Councilman Paige Cherry as Vice Mayor for the City of Portsmouth. Indicate your vote by pressing either yes or no. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a 7-0 vote, and I'm going to pause just for 1 second. And I'm going to ask the city manager to bring a little tray out. I think it's only appropriate that we to take this time to memorialize the fact that our first vote of this new council for this new year was a 7-0 vote. And I'm going to propose a toast, not only to this new year, but to this new beginning of our city council. And this is only grape juice. Ladies and gentlemen, a toast to the new year and a toast to the city of Portsmouth and the new beginning. We're still on item 1706, and Vice Mayor Cherry has asked the chair to allow him to make some comments.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be brief. First, I want to thank you and my colleagues for the confidence you repose in me, and to Councilwoman Simmons. If you recall, you called me after a meeting this past year and said you wanted to thank me for being a stand-up guy. I want to publicly and personally thank you for being a stand-up gal. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Our next item of business is item 1707, which is the consideration of a motion to restore the Monday public work sessions for those Mondays that precede the twice-monthly Tuesday regular meeting of City Council. And I would like to have a motion so we can put this on the floor.
Mr.
Motion by Councilman Moody and second by the Vice Mayor. And we do have, this is what we'll do. Now that the motion's on the floor, it's open for discussion. And we'll take those citizens that have signed up to speak first. Once all the speakers are done, we will then discuss it among council. Madam Clerk, would you read the rules pertaining to speakers, please?
Yes, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, City Council rules require a limit of up to 3 minutes to speak. As you approach the speaker's podium, you will notice a timer. At the beginning of your 3 minutes, you will see a green light. 2 minutes into your remarks, you will notice a yellow light. At the end of 3 minutes, you will see a red light, hear a beep, and we ask that you conclude your comments at that time. While speakers have an opportunity to address council on matters of public concern, all comments should be made in a manner that respects the seriousness of the forum and should not be made in a belligerent, sarcastic, or demeaning fashion. A speaker who fails to observe this basic rule of decorum will be deemed out of order and not allowed to conclude his or her comments.
Thank you, ma'am. Our first citizen speaker is Mark Gedolgi-Yatrowski. Hello, sir, and thank you for coming.
Mr. Mayor, honorable members of council, and fellow citizens, in the 20 years that I've been observing the proceedings of City Council in the city of Portsmouth, it has been my experience that when council met regularly on Mondays, there were a great many meetings at which little of significance transpired. And I suggest, because council has the ability to call special meetings as needed, that you reconsider this item, or you roll it around in your minds before you consider it. I know it was traditional when I first arrived here in 1996 to have Monday meetings on occasion, but it was only a number of years later that they became routine. And as I said, They were in many instances superfluous. Council would come, convene for a half hour, 45 minutes, and go home. So I think it would be more efficient, except during budget season, for you to institutionalize the practice of Monday work sessions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. All right, I don't see any other speakers from the public that have signed up. It's now ready for council's discussion, and Dr. Whitaker.
Yes, I would like to find out if this is management-driven or council-driven as far as the request to restore the Monday meetings. Is that your request, Dr. Patton?
I'll answer that question. It is council-driven. And we'll decide that with our vote.
If it's council-driven, typically the public work sessions have been directed by management. And so, Dr. Patton, was that a need that you saw to have public work sessions on Mondays?
Dr. Whitaker, I am not one to direct or coming here as the city manager. The setting of the public work sessions were set by council, so I don't see it as something that I, as the city manager, would set.
Right. Well, in the past, I know when I first came on council, we did have the Monday sessions, and then we moved them to just Tuesday. Do you see that there is a need for more information to come from management that could not be covered as we regularly did on Tuesdays?
I'll answer that question as chair.
I directed it to Dr. Patton.
You should direct your questions to the chair.
Well, that question was directed to the city manager, and by protocol, the council can ask appointed officials direct questions. So
I hear you, Dr. Whitaker, but we're a $660 million corporation, and as such, this board cannot get its work done with just 2 meetings a month. You have a brand-new council, and these meetings are necessary and important and vital and critical to get the work done.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned the size of our city. Do we find other cities in this region with larger capacities in Portsmouth that have such meetings?
Dr. Whitaker, that's not relevant. I think it's a question that's before our council as to what this council wants to do with this calendar for 2017. And I hear you. I understand your comment, but this is a question that's before council. And let's now hear from Councilman Moody.
Thank you, Mayor. And Mayor, I applaud you for bringing back those Monday sessions for a couple of reasons. Too many times trying to get 20 pounds of business into a 5-pound bag on a Tuesday work session, we've ended up coming into this chamber as late as 8 o'clock or longer, which I think is very disrespectful to the citizens who come here to participate in the advertised 7 o'clock meeting. The other thing is, given the business of the city and the fact that we desperately need to make up for some lost ground, particularly in the area of economic development, I can foresee us needing that Monday session. So I don't think it'll be a waste of time. I would think the citizens will look upon us that we now want to even earn our money at a more aggressive rate and hopefully produce a return on investment, the investment the citizens have made into each of us. So I applaud you for that. And unless there are any more speakers, I move adoption.
There are no other comments that have been indicated. Are you ready for the question? We'll vote electronically. All those in favor hit the yes button. The motion carries 6-1, which takes us to item 17-08, which is the consideration of a motion scheduling a city council retreat for Friday, February 3rd and Saturday, February 4th, 2017 at the Wakefield Airfield Conference Center. Do I have a motion?
Move for approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Vice Mayor Cherry, second, and Councilwoman Simmons is, and keeping with our policy of allowing citizen speakers first, we have one speaker, and that's Mark Godolgi-Yatrowski.
Thank you again to the same cast of characters. Let me digress for a moment to say that I appreciate the manner in which the meeting is being conducted in accordance with Robert's Rules of Order. That's something that I have lamented the absence of for quite some time, going back almost 20 years. So thank you for that. I want to suggest that taking the retreat 50 miles out of town makes it difficult to fulfill pledges of transparency. The ability of citizens to sit and observe your proceedings will be greatly limited by that distance. As somebody who attended previous council's retreats on the Eastern Shore, I was one of two one year and one of one the following year. So technology has moved along, and I would suggest that you consider bringing your videographer with you, preferably to live stream and certainly to record and broadcast later the proceedings. Now, I know that retreats are not the sexiest proceedings that elected bodies engage in, but there are moments in which significant discussions occur, and if they are out of the sight and hearing of the citizens, we are being deprived of valuable information, because it's our job to evaluate the job that all of you do. And if we don't know what your thinking is about a variety of issues of concern, then we don't have adequate information on which to make a fair evaluation and are likely to make an unfair evaluation based on what does get transmitted through the media and through direct interaction. So I would strongly urge you, if you cannot bring, because of the advanced preparations that are required, if you cannot bring that retreat into the city, that you bring an unblinking eye to record the proceedings. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We have no other citizen speakers, and this is now open for the council consideration. Councilman Moody.
Thank you, Mayor. The speaker's points are certainly well taken, and I can recall a few years back, me and former Mayor, Councilman, not former Mayor, former Councilman Whitehurst. We were, I guess, part of apparently two others who moved the council retreat back to the city confines. And I think there's certainly a lot of pluses that the speaker mentioned about that. But then we had a new council, just like we have here today, and we had a city manager, Jim Oliver, who proposed going on the Eastern Shore to a retreat. And begrudgingly at the time, I agreed to do that. And lo and behold, out of that retreat came a vision for our city. And a lot of work went into it. I saw council members who didn't necessarily see eye to eye come together and work as a team to put forth a vision for our city. We came back to this chamber, shared that vision with citizens, and solicited their input as well. So I certainly saw the value of that. And here in 2017, we have a similar situation. We have a new council, and we also have a lot of bonding to do, and a lot of ideas to share. And I think it's time that we revisit the visions put forth by those previous councils, update them, maybe add some new ones, and share those with the citizens. So in this case, I think it's a good idea, and it's probably needed.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mayor.
Dr. Whitaker.
Yeah, well, I guess the question begs us then, was there a greater vision that was obtained by going to the Eastern Shore versus what would have been obtained here in Portsmouth, which would be the same question that would be asked concerning why we would need to go to Wakefield. Is there a cost that has been estimated as far as moving this to Wakefield versus having it here in Portsmouth?
Dr. Whitaker, because it is just down the road by 45 minutes and not in Portsmouth, there is an additional cost. But I agree with Councilman Moody that it's important for this council to come up with a corporate vision for our community. That hasn't been done in a good long while. And we need a venue that will do several things. Keep us there and not on our phones or in our office. Plus, get us focused on each other and coming up with a vision for our city for the future. Councilwoman.
I wasn't finished. Do we have the cost figure for going to Wakefield versus having it here in Portsmouth?
Yes, we do.
What is that?
Are you prepared to give that now?
Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of City Council, we are not prepared at this time.
Okay.
Although it's still in the planning stages.
Will this involve council having to travel back and forth to Wakefield?
It's your choice. You can either travel back and forth or you can spend the night. There are accommodations. Wakefield is a center that's run by a nonprofit that's used by local governments and state agencies throughout the state. So they're well accustomed to this type of visioning meeting.
Okay, so there will be a hotel cost, the facility cost, and also do we have a speaker coming in that'll be at this retreat?
Retreats do best when they're facilitated by somebody other than a council member or a member of the city administration. We want to get a lot of work done. This is a retreat that will start at 10 o'clock on Friday morning, and we'll finish at 3 o'clock on Saturday. And it's long overdue.
Yeah, well, my issue is not the timing of it, it's the fact that we will be spending funds outside of Portsmouth when it would be very much more efficient to have a retreat that's substantive here in Portsmouth. So I just want to be on record that I am opposed to the cost, and also I do agree with the speaker that there is a transparency issue, which I find interesting, that was a major campaign issue that was brought up.
Thank you, sir. Councilwoman Simmons.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank city staff and you for hopping on this. I brought this up to council some months ago that I hoped the manager would pick a date and get started on it, no matter who the council was, come January 1st. And I understand because I participated in those exercises on the Eastern Shore that it's so important at a retreat type setting for us to work and focus on each other. And that first time we went to the YMCA camp on the Eastern Shore, you couldn't even get a cell phone to work. In fact, our police officer that went with us borrowed a satellite phone from the state police in case we had an emergency. But it was good because there was no, let me check my email, let me call into my spouse, let me check in with my office, let me run home for a minute. There was nothing to do but focus on each other and focus on the business at hand. And here again, we've got, 3 out of 4 people on this council are brand new to this position. And, the things I won't tell you that I learned about Marlene Randall and Charles Whitehurst being at that retreat are important, and important for us to learn how to work together. And so I'm thrilled that we're doing this. I'm thrilled that we're doing it a little bit out of town. And the fact of the matter is, as far as cost is concerned, usually when you pick these types of nonprofit agencies, when we went to the YMCA Camp Silver Beach, we spent something in the neighborhood of $10 a night to sleep there and less money to eat there than we would have at Badawee or at the Renaissance Hotel, which is what we had previously been doing. So, in fact, with the exception of maybe some gas, if anybody turns in a gas receipt, it's probably going to cost less than meeting right here in the city. So I'm thrilled to support this motion.
Thank you, ma'am. It appears that we're ready for the question. Consideration of a motion to have a retreat. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying or voting yes. Those opposed, no. Motion carries 6-1, which brings us to item 17-09, which is the consideration of a resolution to adopt the calendar for the City of Portsmouth for 2017. Madam Clerk, we have a resolution. Will you read the caption of the resolution?
Yes, sir. A resolution to adopt the 2017 calendar of city council meetings.
You've heard the caption of the resolution. The chair will entertain a motion to adopt the resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Moody, second by Vice Mayor Lucas Burke. And- If that's the only faux pas that I do today, will you forgive me? Thank you. Thank you. We have a motion on the floor, and we do have one speaker, Mark Godolgi Yatrowski. Oh, you're not going to speak? My mistake. 2 faux pas. All right. It's open for discussion by City Council. Hearing none. Ready for the question? We'll vote electronically. All in favor, hit the green button. Opposed, no. Motion adopted, 6-1. Which brings us to agenda item 17-10, which is the consideration of the adoption of a motion to eliminate section 23B pertaining to the finding of $1,500 by a majority vote of City Council. And we do have a speaker on, well, first, before the caption, please.
Yes, sir. A resolution amending Section 23 of the Portsmouth City Council Rules of Order and Procedure by deleting Section 23B pertaining to violations of the confidentiality of closed sessions.
So that we can get this on the floor for discussion, may I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have, Madam Clerk, did you get that?
Yes, it was Simmons and Clark, actually.
Okay, and we do have a citizen speaker now that we have the motion on the table, and that's Mark Godolgi Yatrowski. would you, I'm going to deviate and ask you your patience. I'm going to hear first from Councilman Moody.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. Mine is short. Since I have interest in this and there's some ongoing litigation, I think it's only appropriate that I probably leave the chamber during this discussion. Legally, it's probably all right if I would stay here, but I would feel better if I left the room.
I think your point is very valid, and we'll pause as you leave the room.
Thank you.
Sorry, sir, but this was a very important statement.
Time is on my side.
Go ahead.
Good morning once again, or good afternoon once again. I agree that this item, this part of the council's rules of order and procedure needs to be eliminated. As I wrote to you all, this is a legislative body, and I get heartburn when legislative bodies assume judicial functions. So essentially, you are trying and sentencing a member of your own group. That is something that should be in the hands of the judiciary, the courts. And so I feel that this should not have been put in place. However, there was an important principle that this mechanism was intended to protect. There are certain items that by law, as the law has been instituted in the Commonwealth of Virginia, that are exempt from the Freedom of Information Act requirements. Personnel matters, legal discussions with counsel, acquisition of property, negotiations with businesses that are looking to establish themselves in Portsmouth, and so on. There's a laundry list of those kinds of things. And the public interest is not served by having people on council violate confidentiality. But the remedy must come from the General Assembly. And I would urge you, when you are considering this year's legislative package, the 2017 package for the 2018 session, to insert language that would allow for the enforcement, the judicial enforcement of confidentiality, because the public purse is at risk. One loose-lipped council member some years ago cost the citizens of this city $3 million by disclosing in open council advice that the city attorney had provided to council behind closed doors. And that, according to the decision of Judge Dumar, pretty much wrecked the city's case. So this is important. Those matters that should be confidential need to remain so. Thank you.
Sir. Dr. Whitaker?
Yes, this is for our city attorney. The section of the Virginia Code, I believe it's 15.2, 1400, that empowers city councils to fine members for disorderly conduct, disorderly behavior. Is that still valid?
Dr. Whitaker, it is.
Okay, thank you. As far as having the legislative authority as a Dillon state, as other cities have done in adopting fines, which if you would check, there are cities all across the Commonwealth that has the same fines in place. So therefore, it's not an issue of civility It's an issue of exercising a authority that has been granted through the General Assembly. Also, I find it interesting that two sitting council members, Councilwoman Simmons and Councilmember Moody, back in 2009, did fine Dr. James Holly $2,500, but yet now in 2016, it becomes an issue when Mr. Moody is fined. I find it troubling then that if we're going to go into closed session and council members are able to disclose to the media either through a recording or through a statement, I find that troubling, because what is the purpose of closed session if it is not going to be enforced? Also, the public has been greatly misled on this issue. It was not Mr. Moody's post of the discussion on the Confederate monument that caused the issue. Our speaker just mentioned how a statement by a former council member cost the city almost $3 million. It was the email that I sent to the city attorney requesting a settlement in the Chapman case, which Mr. Moody published and sent to the Virginia Pilot, which was published. That greatly put the city at a disadvantage in negotiating that case, because it was already known that settlement was being discussed. So I want the public to be clear on that it had nothing to do with the Confederate monument discussion. That was just done to engulf and to cause rage and to cause people to get excited over an issue. The real issue, as far as releasing information that was damaging to the city, was the email that I sent to the city attorney. And I think that if that type of conduct is allowed, then there should be no need for a closed session if we can openly discuss those issues.
Thank you, sir. Councilwoman Simmons.
Yes, sir, thank you. As the public is aware, I have made this very motion some 7 or 8 times in the last year, to no avail. However, at this point, I'd just like to ask my colleagues if there is consensus to ask the city attorney to bring to us at his earliest convenience, if we pass this today, how we finish up and settle on the pending litigation that involves this matter that is due for hearing again on January 30.
We'll put that on the things to talk about at our next work session. Okay.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor Cherry.
Thank you, Mayor. I've gone back and forth on whether to even comment on this item or not, partly due to the litigation upcoming. I agree with the speaker, Mr. Godot-Kotrowski, everything he said. I am going to support removing this not because, as Dr. Whitaker said, is anything illegal about it, but because I want us to have a fresh start with this administration. I don't think it would be as necessary to have it during this administration because of the players have changed, and I think those who had, hopefully, with this new start under your administration, won't feel the need to disclose confidential information to keep something going on. It has been more of a distraction than anything else to have it come up at every meeting, and I don't want us to start off this administration with that kind of distraction. So I'm going to support removing it, hoping that the 7 of us will govern ourselves in a manner that a rule such as this would never be needed again in the city of Portsmouth.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Whitaker.
Yes, so are we going to reimburse the Holly family for this issue? Because if we're saying now that this can't be done, then was it wrong in 2019,
Well, that question is not really germane to our motion that's on the table. You can bring it up.
I understand that. I just want to show the fallacy of what you all are saying, and also as far as this relating to transparency, as it has tried to been presented in the past. This has nothing to do with trying to prevent transparency, but trying to make sure that we have closed sessions in decency and in order.
Thank you, sir. Are you ready for the question? All in favor of the motion signify by voting yes electronically. Opposed, no. Motion carries 5-1. Please, please. Next item of business is item 1712, which is appointment to boards vacancies on regional boards or commission. And, oh yes, please. We'll take a slight pause as we get Councilman Moody back.
Did you skip 711?
You know what? I sure did. That's 3. Thank you. And this is a very important one. Next item of business is 1711, which is the adoption of a resolution amending Section 17A to adjust the time limit of a business item speaker or non-agenda speaker from 3 minutes to 5 minutes. And we do have a resolution. And Madam Clerk, will you read the caption of the resolution?
Yes, sir. A resolution amending subsection 17A of the Portsmouth City Council Rules of Order and Procedure to increase the time permitted to members of the public to speak on City Council agenda or non-agenda items from 3 minutes to 5 minutes.
Ladies and gentlemen of council, we need a motion to put this resolution on. We have, Madam Clerk, did you get that?
Yes, sir. We have a motion and a second.
And we do have a speaker, Mark Godolgi-Yatrowski. And because we have not adopted this motion, it's limited to 3 minutes.
As my fellow former candidates in the 2016 council election cycle will recognize, 3 minutes has started to feel like a very long time compared to what we were allotted in forums. So I think I can shoehorn my remarks into the time remaining. The 5-minute rule preceded my tenure as a citizen in Portsmouth. And for council to arbitrarily cut the speaking time for rather specious reasons was an affront to every citizen. So by restoring the 5 minutes that has been the tradition in this city, you are doing a great service to all of us. Just because you have 5 minutes on the meter does not mean you have to use it. But if you need it, it should be there. And so I thank you for turning promptly to this matter, because after elections, a lot of campaign promises fall by the wayside. But the fact that you have elected to make this among the first orders of business is a very hopeful sign. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, sir.
And I left you a minute.
Thank you so much. The matter, the question is ready for council's discussion, and call upon Dr. Whitaker.
Yes, Mr. Yatrowski, I just have a question I'd like to ask you. I just want to make sure, is your argument that it should be 5 minutes based on tradition, not the fact that the many council meetings that you've attended over the years, have you seen that the 3 minutes has limited the quality or the substance of what citizens have been able to present?
Yes, sir, I feel it has. Some issues are far more complex than others. There are a number of multi-part ordinances that have come before council, and even 5 minutes isn't adequate. What I would ultimately like to see council do, but I'm not going to press you for it at this juncture, is to return to the language that was here even further back, whereby if a speaker needed more time than 5 minutes, they could request it on the speaker's card, and council at its discretion, after hearing the initial 5-minute presentation, could decide whether to grant that. There have been proposals brought here in which the people speaking in favor of the proposal, an actual business or other outside group, would come in, and speaker after speaker for the proposition would pick up where the other person had left off. And so the citizens who are coming in as individuals, not usually in organized groups, would be at a tremendous disadvantage. So yes, I think 5 minutes is a good minimum. Let me say this as well. I think this is something Portsmouth does better than its neighboring communities. But the last council took it as a deficiency. Well, look, Norfolk, Virginia Beach, blah, blah, blah. They all give 3 minutes, or they restrict speaking times. This is where Portsmouth has gone the extra mile for its citizens, and we should celebrate that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Please don't show your support. All right, hearing no other debate or discussions, we're ready for the question. All in favor of the motion signify by voting electronically yes, opposed no. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This brings us to item 1712, which is the appointment to Portsmouth vacancies that we have on regional boards and commissions. And Madam Clerk, will you read the appointments, please? And we'll consider these with one single motion.
Yes, sir. Item A, Hampton Roads Planning District Commission, our Mayor, John L. Rowe, Jr. Item B, Hampton Roads Transportation Planning Organization, our Mayor, John L. Rowe, Jr. Item C, Hampton Roads Regional Transportation Accountability Commission, Mayor John L. Rowe, Jr. Item D, Hampton Roads Regional Jail, Councilman Nathan J. Clark. And item E, Transportation District Commission of Hampton Roads, Mayor John L. Rowe, Jr., and final adoption by electronic roll call.
Yes. Do I have a motion to make these?
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Moody, and Councilwoman Simmons. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, please vote electronically by yes, opposed, no. Motion carries 7-0. We're down to our last item of business, which is announcements by the chair. Our January 9th work session, our first one this year, will be a work session in which the city manager will give us, the new council, a briefing on city finances and the development of the 2017-2018 proposed budget. This will allow council to get up to speed on the current of expenditures and revenues of the city, the forecast, and allow city council to indicate to the city manager its priorities as she considers the development of the proposed budget that she'll submit later this spring. The next work session, 2 weeks later, is a joint meeting between the city council and the school board, which is also new. And then lastly, we have council liaisons for 2017, and those are before you. That ends our business. May I have a motion to adjourn? Oh, before we adjourn, for the public's information, there will be a council photograph this afternoon after this meeting. You're welcome to stay if you like, but it should be pretty painless and quick, I hope. Is there a motion to adjourn? Okay. We have a motion, a second. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The motion carries. Meeting's adjourned.